Make sure this season to check out Walter's self-poured beer wall, which includes 24 different items, including Fireside Chat, Vienna Lager, and Green City IPA. Visit waltersdc.com for more information.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Now, Gore coming set. He kicks and he fires, swinging a high pop-up. Shallow right center. Robles moving in under it, waiting. And he makes the catch. No, he dropped the ball. Can he get it out at second? The throw there is not in time. Oh, my goodness gracious. Runner was back to the bag to tag. I don't know if Robles took a peek, but this is about as routine a play as you can possibly ever have. And he went to one-handed and never closed the glove on the ball. It popped out and dropped to the grass. Now the pitch, swing and a miss. The ball gets away from Riley Adams, and down the line from third to score is Duran. Over to third is Rafaela. On a curveball in the dirt, a wild pitch, and it's the Red Sox 3 and the Nationals nothing.
Now a long hold, the pitch from Bayo. Swinging a ground ball, base hit into right field. Rounding third is Adams. He'll hold as O'Neill has a strong arm. He fires into the plate. Now Robles runs to third. The Nationals have a traffic jam. Robles going back to second. They tag Adams. He's standing on the bag, and Robles is in a rundown, falls down, gets tagged out.
Shades of Nook Logan. What was Robles watching? What was he thinking, and where was he going? This is unbelievable.
The last 10 minutes for Victor Robles has been inexplicable.
Young runs, the pitch is high. Here's the throw by Wong on one hop. He overslides the bag. He's out. The game is over.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Monday, May 13th, 2024. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark Zuckerman is off for this installment of the podcast, but I'm pleased to be joined by the man who runs the podcast, Tim Shovers, and unfortunately, the Nats on Sunday afternoon ran themselves into way too many outs. A 3-2 loss at the Boston Red Sox to lose the series 2-1. The Nats for this regular season are back to being below 500. The record now 19-20. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast is brought to us by Roaming Rooster. Roaming Rooster is at Nationals Park, is proudly stationed in section 386 in left center field, adding flavor to every game day experience. That's Roaming Rooster in section 386 at Nationals Park. Tim, the Nats on Sunday afternoon got a good outing from starting pitcher MacKenzie Gore, got more good work from the bullpen, got yet another home run from the piping hot Eddie Rosario, but 4 significant outs on the base paths combined with 2 errors, including a brutal error by Victor Robles, who had a brutal game. All of these things, big problems, and the Nats do end up losing the game.
For a game in which the Nats never were ahead, this is one of the more frustrating losses of the season. You talk about the amount of outs that they gave away on the bases, including rather poetically the final out of the game. MacKenzie Gore pitched really well, career high in pitches, but one bad inning by the team, and that's all Boston needed. And it's frustrating because the Nats probably should have taken this series, and they started out winning the opener on Friday night, and then they lose both games on the weekend. And as the road trip continues, as they move out to Chicago, they're kind of back where they were, which is back under 500. Now, it's just one game under 500, but there is a chance for some momentum. And today was a step in the opposite direction.
It's funny. The Nats are in every game. Like, every game is close. And when the Nats win, they win close. When they lose close. Every game is coming down to the final few innings. And this game, obviously no exception, with it being a one-run decision. But here is something that speaks to how well the Nats have been doing. They now have a losing streak for the first time in 2.5 weeks. The Nats now have lost at least 2 consecutive games, i.e. a losing streak for the first time since getting swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers in 3 games at Nationals Park, April 23rd through the 25th. That does speak to what the Nats have been doing. So if you're frustrated with what happened over the final 2 games of this series, I get it. But bigger picture, good things are happening. Unfortunately, good things were not happening for Victor Robles on Sunday. So it was last Tuesday afternoon, May 7th, that the Nats announced having reinstated Robles from the 10-day injured list. He had been on that since April 4th due to a left hamstring strain. He, upon being reinstated off the 10-day IL, actually did not play in a game until this past Friday night's 5-1 win at the Red Sox. But Robles in that game was good. Starting right fielder, number 9 batter, 2 for 4, RBI single, another single, and he had a stolen base, and he had an outfield assist. But Robles in the 4-2 loss at the Red Sox on Saturday, starting right fielder, number 9 batter, 0 for 2, hit by pitch, 2 strikeouts, and he got picked off. Top of the 8th, he drew a leadoff hit by pitch, but he was picked off, due at least in part to stumbling in trying to slide back to first base. He then ran towards second base, was tagged out. There was a lot of slipping on that Fenway Park infield in this series. So you have a good game for Robles on Friday night, a not-so-great game on Saturday, although I wasn't too hard on Robles on the podcast regarding him getting picked off. It was a bad moment, but he slipped. I didn't want to put that as another Victor Robles base-running blunder. I thought maybe there were some circumstances there that were unfortunate. Well, what happened on Sunday afternoon was plain bad Victor Robles. He was back to playing center field. He was again the Nats' number 9 batter. He went 0 for 3 with a really bad fielding error, and he made a massive base-running blunder. Robles, in a 3-run second for the Red Sox, committed a terrible fielding error. He dropped a routine fly ball, and I can't emphasize the word routine enough. This is as routine as fly balls can be. Routine fly ball off the bat of Vaughn Grissom on a 1-2 pitch by MacKenzie Gore, resulting in the bases being loaded with no outs. And then Robles in the next half inning, so literally minutes later, top of the 3rd, gets on base via a 1-out error, but then off a 1-out first pitch single by C.J. Abrams into right field, gets tagged out in a rundown between second base and third base off going to third base despite Riley Adams being held at third base. Robles didn't realize that Adams was still at third. Inexcusable base running mistake by Robles, who, of course, has a bit of a history of inexcusable blunders. And what I thought was so interesting, Tim, Nats manager Davey Martinez, during his post-game session with reporters, admitted that he wanted to pull Robles from the game, but Davey did not pull Robles from the game. This due to the Nats starting left fielder for the game, Jesse Winker, having to leave the game due to back spasms.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I wanted to take him out of the game, and I couldn't because Winker was hurting a little bit. So I knew that he had back spasms. So that can't happen. That can't happen.
Davey was set to really send a message to Robles, ended up not being able to send that message due to Winker dealing with the back spasms. But man, what a day for Victor Robles.
You want Victor Robles off the IL? You got Victor Robles off the IL. Comes back, and then he commits these 2 ridiculous mental errors, and he does it at a time where there is a real ready-made replacement for him. I mean, Jacob Young, obviously, the stock is up here, and it's just sort of reaching the point where for years I was happy to make excuses for Robles because I saw what there was in 2019 and I thought it could turn around, and then that got harder and harder. But man, we just had the 5th year anniversary of 2019, right? I mean, that's so far away, and I'm getting so sick of this stuff, and I imagine that Davey Martinez feels the exact same way.
He has to, and we are so beyond the point of saying, well, Victor Robles needs to grow out of these mistakes. Like, no, this is who he is, okay? Victor Robles made his major league debut, I hope people understand this, in 2017, okay? 2017. It's now 2024. Numerically speaking, he is young. That is true. But from a standpoint of playing at the major league level, he has a ton of experience at this point. And if these boneheaded moments aren't out of his system yet, then they're probably never going to be out of his system. And it'd be one thing if he was still a really good player as he was in 2019, because then I think you could put up with these boneheaded moments. But he hasn't been that player since, like you said, 2019, which is a half decade ago at this point. And, I think everyone likes Victor Robles personally. I've never heard of anything of him being like a bad clubhouse guy or anything like that. It was interesting. Robles, after the game on Sunday, told reporters that MacKenzie Gore and other teammates showed support for Robles, came up to him and said that they had his back, that they supported him. I thought that was cool. I think that speaks to the person that Victor Robles is. But as Davey said during his post-game session with reporters, you can't have what Robles did in this game. There will be errors that are made. There will be outs on base pass that are made. These two mistakes are like mortal sins in baseball. The most routine of fly balls not being caught, and then running to third base because you're not looking up and not noticing while you're running behind the catcher, by the way. So you should be mindful of this, right? That the catcher, is on third base, the bag to which you are running. It is completely unacceptable.
I wonder the next time he gets a start in the lineup. Injuries come into play and all things like that. But the fact that Davey Martinez says that, and as I said, obviously Jacob Young on the roster, and there might be a certain outfielder getting called up soon who was briefly Robles' teammate in Rochester. I don't know where this is going here for Robles in the next few weeks and months and what his roster situation is going to be.
I think on a good team, Victor Robles as a fourth outfielder, you could do a lot worse than that. But Victor Robles as an every game player, as a regular starter for you, I don't know how you can make that case anymore. This yearning, this pining for 2019 Victor Robles, that guy's gone, okay? That guy's not coming back at this point. I think people need to stop, searching for that or hoping for that. He can still be a contributor. He can still be a guy who can maybe play well for you over stretches, but it's hard to see what we've seen since 2019 and still say, yeah, 2019 Robles is just around the corner. I don't know how you can say that.
This episode of Nats Chat is brought to you by Roaming Rooster. Established in 2015, Roaming Rooster began as a food truck roaming the district before anchoring its first brick-and-mortar establishment in 2018. Inspired by a mission to provide quality comfort food that customers can feel good about eating, the award-winning fast casual restaurant offers fried chicken that is grain-fed, free-range, and antibiotic-free. With 11 locations throughout the DMV, we are on the move, gearing up to unveil 2 new locations in Maryland, one in late summer at Woodmore Town Center in Glen Arden, and another in the fall in downtown Silver Spring. In the meantime, find us at Nats Park, proudly stationed in Section 386 in left center field, adding flavor to every game day experience. That's Roaming Rooster in Section 386.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
With everyone fighting for attention, how can your business stand out and connect with customers? Easy, with Constant Contact. Constant Contact's award-winning marketplace platform has helped millions of small businesses stand out, stay top of mind, and see big results fast. It's okay if you don't know much about marketing. Constant Contact's writing assistant tools and automation features help you craft messaging and say the right things at the right time. I use this to help write and send my email newsletters, and you should too. So get going and start growing your business today with a free trial at ConstantContact.com. Just go to ConstantContact.com right now. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall. ConstantContact.com.
Kelly, third base side of the rubber, sets at the belt. Throws over. Senzel's going to be picked off. He went tumbling, stumbling back into the bag, is picked off, and the Nationals have had 4 base runners erased in one game.
In fairness to Robles, his base running blunder on Sunday was not the only base running blunder by the Nats in this game. C.J. Abrams, starting shortstop, number 1 batter, 2 for 4 with 2 first pitch singles. Abrams in the top of the first had a leadoff first pitch single to right center field, but he on the very next pitch was thrown out in an attempted steal of second base. He initially was called safe, but Red Sox manager Alex Cora successfully challenged the safe ruling. Also on Sunday afternoon was Nick Senzel getting picked off. Now, Senzel had a pretty good game. He has an starting DH, a number 5 batter, went 1 for 2 with a single and 2 walks, but Senzel in the top of the 7th off drawing a leadoff walk was picked off at first base for the first out. He appeared to slip on the infield dirt, so that was not good. But again, the dirt did not do Senzel any favors. But we also had this. So Senzel, top of the 9th, a 1-out single into left center field on a 1-2 pitch, then was pinch run for by Jacob Young. And as Tim mentioned a few moments ago, Young thrown out in an attempted steal of second base to end the game. So you had the Robles base running blunder. You had Abrams getting thrown out on an attempted steal. You had Senzel getting picked off. You had Young getting thrown out on an attempted steal to end the game. 4 big outs by the Nats on the base paths.
It seems way too common that we have games like this. This might be the most that they've made all year, or maybe every single time that I fill in and co-host that we're talking about this. The Senzel one was ridiculous. That one, it seemed like he was totally asleep right there. And they're such rally killers. And the Young one, though, everyone in the ballpark knew he was stealing. He had a great jump. It was a great throw and tag. I was surprised at how easily he was out, actually. I mean, Young immediately called for a review, but there was, if you saw it live, he was definitely out. And you got to review at this point because it's the 27th out of the game. But the one that really sucks in my crawl, in addition to the Robles stuff that we covered, was the Senzel one. Just completely, it took all the momentum out of the inning.
The Nats are aggressive on a base pass, as we know. When you are aggressive, you are going to run into some outs. We get that. But I think it's important to keep in mind with what we're talking about from Sunday afternoon. The Victor Robles out is not an out of aggression or anything like that. Nick Senzel getting picked off is not an out of aggression or anything like that. Those are things that should not happen. Now, C.J. Abrams getting thrown out on an attempted steal, Jacob Young getting thrown out on an attempted steal. Okay, the Nats are really pushing the envelope with the running game. You're not going to be successful 100% of the time, but things like the Robles boo-boo, things like Senzel getting picked off should not be happening. Unfortunately, those things did happen. A major bright spot for the Nats offensively on Sunday afternoon, Eddie Rosario. This really is something, what he's doing. Another home run for this guy, another good game for this guy. Rosario on Sunday afternoon as the Nats starting right fielder and number 6 batter, 1 for 2 with a 2-run homer and 2 walks, and he had a stolen base. Rosario in a Nats 2-run fourth, a 2-out first pitch, 2-run homer to right center field to cut the Nats deficit to 3-2. Yet another home run for a guy in Eddie Rosario who could not buy a hit for the longest time. And we on this homer had quite the visual. Red Sox center fielder Ceddanne Rafaela actually caught the ball, but he went tumbling over the wall, Torrey Hunter style, and into the Red Sox's bullpen. That was a home run, but man, that is something that you can get at Fenway Park. An outfielder catching a home run and flipping over the outfield wall. And Rosario ends up capping quite the series for him. He on Saturday, 1 for 2 solo homer and a walk. Friday night, 2 for 4, double, a single, and a stolen base. Eddie Rosario, for this regular season through games on May 2nd, had an OPS of 290. His OPS was 290. That is so bad. Rosario now, last 7 games, 10 for 22, 4 home runs, a double, 5 singles, and 6 walks. We've been singing the praises of James Wood at AAA Rochester. The recent numbers for Wood at Rochester, that's what Rosario's doing at the major league level here recently. This is some tear.
What a stark turnaround. I love the Mr. May that you called me the other day. I know opposite reasons of Dave Winfield. I was reminded by this because I just sort of forgot, and I saw this on Twitter today. April was his spring training because he was signed so late. How much of that was the reason, who knows? Still inexcusable to be hitting 053 for the first month of the season, but he's been at times the only source of offense for the Nats. If the Nats are going to exceed expectations and be in playoff contention throughout the year, it's going to need to be guys like Eddie Rosario and Jesse Winker doing things like this, giving them production in ways that they didn't anticipate. And also, the home run you mentioned right there with that shallow fence reminded me, wasn't it when Dalen Lyle got hurt in spring training this year for falling over the fence for the Nationals? I believe that was against the Red Sox, oddly enough. So kind of 2 times where we've had sort of that sort of instance there. To your point about Rosario, I guess he needs to be in the lineup every single day at this point until this stretch cools off.
Yeah, I mean, he has supplanted Jesse Winker as the low-cost veteran acquisition who's really surging. I mean, Winker has cooled off. He did not have a good series. Overall, has done some good things this season, but his numbers for the season have come tumbling down, and Rosario has gotten going here. I mean, one of the things that I lamented with Mark a few episodes back was, okay, you had Abrams and Winker going really well. You had Riley Adams going really well for a while. Those guys have cooled off. Where's that next wave of Nationals batters getting hot? And we were, for a while, not really having anyone who was supremely hot. Luis Garcia Jr. was going pretty well, but even he's kind of calmed down. Well, now here you have finally someone who really has gotten going in Eddie Rosario. So really good to see that. And props to Davey Martinez. He stuck with Eddie Rosario through the struggles. I think a lot of us felt, I know I did, okay, he's not a great hitter. He's better than what we're seeing. I mean, to have a 290 OPS, you look at the guy's track record, you're like, okay, he's better than that. And sure enough, he has been a lot better than that lately. Hey guys, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation, which has another great deal for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 50% off all window styles plus 0% interest for 5 years and an additional bonus if you schedule an appointment this week. This offer is good throughout this month of May. Window Nation windows are the best. Increase the value, look, and feel of your home. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. Window Nation can install your new windows in a day or less. Window Nation's windows come with a lifetime warranty. Get a free, no obligation quote now. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com and tell Window Nation that Al Galdi sent you.
The next Nationals homestand begins on May 20th for a 3-game series against the Twins, followed by 3 more versus Seattle. Check out Game Time for various ticketing options, as there are tickets as low as $3 at the moment when they play Minnesota. Game Time offers the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this podcast. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. In hundreds of locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's unifydhealing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Here's your Dylan Cruz and James Wood updates for the games played on Sunday. Cruz in a 5-3 victory in New Hampshire went 1 for 3. He scored 2 runs, also drew a walk. He's hitting .240 on the season with a .779 OPS. Meanwhile, up in AAA, the Rochester Red Wings lost 6-4. However, Wood 1 for 5, scored a run. He struck out twice. He's hitting .346 on the season with an OPS of 1,025. Now back to the show.
And here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss on a ball in the dirt. Runner breaks for first. Adams throws down to first, completing the strikeout. And MacKenzie Gore finishes the inning with his 9th strikeout of the ball game. So a strong finish for Gore. He strands that Boston runner 90 feet away.
Another bright spot for the Nats in this 3-2 loss at the Red Sox on Sunday afternoon, MacKenzie Gore. He bounced back from his bad outing the previous Sunday afternoon, that 11-8 Nats win over the Toronto Blue Jays at Nationals Park on May 5th. Gore in that game, 6 runs, 2 earned in 3 innings. But Gore in this loss at the Red Sox on Sunday afternoon, 3 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 doubles and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks and 2 wild pitches. He threw a lot of pitches, but also a good number of strikes, 111 pitches, 71 strikes versus 40 balls. All of the runs off Gore in this game came in the bottom of the second, during which he allowed 3 runs, although only 2 of them were earned, thanks to that error by Victor Robles. But also in this inning was a bizarro situation in which Gore had to get 4 strikes for a strikeout. Gore in the bottom of the second generated a 1-out strikeout of the Red Sox's number 1 batter, Romy Gonzalez, for the 2nd out in a plate appearance during which the home plate umpire, Brian Onora, had the count wrong. So Gore actually got the strikeout via getting 4 strikes. That bottom of the second ended up being such an odd inning because you had the Victor Robles error. You had this whacked out situation in which Gore had to get 4 strikes to get this strikeout of Romy Gonzalez. You had a run-scoring wild pitch by Gore in the inning. There was a lot to take in with that inning.
I'm a defender of human umpires, but this was not a great day for keeping human umpires over the automated system. Completely inexcusable in 2024 for this to happen, but whatever, it did. Yeah, that second inning, it's such a shame that that's where, that's how the Nats lost. That all the Red Sox runs came in that inning, and the Nats couldn't overcome it and get at least 3 or 4 runs because just a bunch of cheap ways that the Red Sox score, and it was early on, and the Nats just could never get over the hump and overcome it. I do love that MacKenzie Gore obviously pitched well today and that he had a career-high amount in pitches. But it still is frustrating at how quickly it seems he gets to 100 pitches almost every single outing. It's pretty much by the 5th inning. And that is one thing where, as he continues to develop throughout his career, where it would be great if he could have a more economical pitch count, because his pitch counts get so high, so quick, I would say every time.
He's not pitch efficient. You really can't argue otherwise, but he is proving effective, and I'll deal with some pitch inefficiency if you're going to put up some of the numbers that Gore is putting up. I mean, Gore now for this regular season, 8 starts, ERA of 3.38, strikeouts per 9 innings of 11.48. That's really good. Now, the whip is high, 1.45, so that does speak to the pitch inefficiencies, putting guys on base. And when you are a pitcher who generates strikeouts, you are going to have high pitch counts, right? Because you're not going to generate a strikeout over 1 or 2 pitches, right? At least 3 pitches. So that is a reality with Gore. But yeah, I think overall he's doing a good job. And, I look at what happened in this game. You're coming off what was not an impressive outing the previous Sunday afternoon. I know the defense failed Gore to an extent in that game, but he gave up a grand slam in that game, and he bounced back in this game. There is this high variance with MacKenzie Gore. I've talked about that, where he can be really good. He also can be really bad. So you do want to see more consistency, but the overall body of work this season is good. And I was looking at this after the game. If you look at the Nats from a starting pitching ERA standpoint, the Nats for the 2023 regular season had a starting pitching ERA of 5.02. That is horrendous. The Nats for this regular season now, a starting pitching ERA of 4.01. That isn't spectacular, but that's a lot better than 5.02, and the 4.01 is inflated primarily by one man, Patrick Corbin, and even he has been better lately. But you look at Gore and Irvin and Parker and Trevor Williams, 4 guys who are pitching to the tunes of sub-4 ERAs. The Nats starting pitching has been a real strength. Certainly was in this series. Corbin in Game 1, Jake Irvin in Game 2, MacKenzie Gore in Game 3. The Nats in each of the 3 games in this series got at least a decent outing from the starting pitcher.
They're getting a decent outing pretty much every single game. And on April 9th, when Josiah Gray went to the IL, and obviously he still has not returned, I would not have guessed that that's a sentence that we'd be saying on Mother's Day. I think it's really important to remember that all of this good / solid / decent / acceptable starting pitching has come without Josiah Gray.
Yeah, and you think about what the rotation might be when Gray comes back. You think about what the rotation might be when Cade Cavalli joins the rotation, whenever that is, presumably June or July. And this could actually end up being a really good season of national starting pitching, which would be awesome. And it's the kind of thing, as we know, if you get good starting pitching, you are in most games. I mean, early in the show, we remarked how the Nats are like in every game, win or lose. Part of that is the starting pitching. When you get good starting pitching, you are going to be in games. It's like in hockey. If you have a great goaltender or you are getting great goaltending, you are in every game. If you're only giving up 1 or 2 goals a game, you're in every game. Football, same thing. You have good defense. You keep the opposition to say less than 20 points a game. You're in every game. And I think we're seeing that with the Nats in these games. They are in games in no small part due to the starting pitching. And the bullpen has played a role in this too. The bullpen on Sunday afternoon was good once again. 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings. Derek Law, a perfect bottom of the 7th with 2 swinging strikeouts, and Dylan Floro tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th. You look at Nats relievers over the 3 games in this series, 2 runs in 7 innings, and both of those runs came off 1 reliever in 1 inning. Robert Garcia in the bottom of the 8th on Saturday, allowing 2 runs. So overall pitching has been good, and I think a lot of us didn't quite know what to expect from the Nats pitching coming into this season. So far, what you're getting is good, far more good than bad.
Far more good, sometimes great bullpen pitching. One nice thing, of course, with Gore going deeper today, only 2 bullpen arms were used. There's no off day as they move to Chicago. And, I am getting sick of seeing these days with 5 relievers. It seems like it's way more common than one would prefer. And you talk about the rotation, and then you start talking about the bullpen. And I know he didn't start today, Al, but you threw out a lot of starters that might be on the rotation this summer with Gray and Cavalli, and that could mean that the bullpen could get a nice veteran left-hander later in the season, if you know what I'm saying.
Could be. It could be. Although if he does well and he continues to do well, who knows? Maybe our friend Corbin maintains his spot in the rotation. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, the Nats, the saying in baseball of you can never have too much pitching, the Nats may have themselves a circumstance in, say, a month or two in which they have to make a hard call, a tough decision regarding who stays in the rotation. When's the last time that you could even entertain a thought like that?
Never in Nats chat history.
No, absolutely not. Next up for the Nats is a 3-game series at the Chicago White Sox. Game 1, Monday night at 7:40. Trevor Williams will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday night at 7:40. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher, and he will oppose former Nats starting pitcher Eric Fedde, our guy, E-Fed, taking on Mitchell Parker Tuesday night in Game 2 of the Nats-White Sox series. And then Game 3, Wednesday afternoon at 2:10. Patrick Corbin will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Nats do have an off day this week. They are off on Thursday, May 16th. And then after this series at the White Sox, do have a 3-game series at the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Nats are in the midst of a stretch of 9 consecutive road games. 3 games at the Red Sox, 3 games at the White Sox, and then 3 games at the Phillies. As Tim, finally, with this upcoming series at the White Sox, we will conclude this seemingly endless stretch of the Nats facing American League teams. There actually is a series coming up against a National League team this weekend, 3 games at the Phillies, although after that, you have 2 more series against American League teams, a 3-game home set against the Minnesota Twins, followed by 3 home games against the Seattle Mariners. But no, the Nats have not been relocated to the American League. They are still a National League team.
Yeah, the Nats sort of have like a college basketball schedule this year where November and December you play out of conference, and that's sort of what it's like. We're in December right now in college basketball terms, and they're playing all American League teams. I overall still like this scheduling format, but it does seem like it's a little too much American League at once. I would like to get back to some divisional play. That will happen. It is weird that the Nats haven't played the Braves yet, for example. You mentioned the Fedde matchup on Tuesday. I'm really happy that the Nats are going to face Fedde. That's going to be fun for Nats fans because he's part of the 2019 lore, and he's an unforgettable name if you're a diehard Nats fan. We've had our jokes about him competing with Voth, for the 5th spot, but I am glad that overlaps, and we'll see how he does against the former squad.
This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Roaming Rooster. Roaming Rooster is at Nationals Park, proudly stationed in section 386 in left center field, adding flavor to every game day experience. That's Roaming Rooster in section 386 at Nationals Park. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to sponsor the show. We'd love to have you on board, see what we can do for you. Contact Tim at natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube. Just search NatsChat. Our YouTube handle is at NatsChat Podcast. We have a website that we invite you to check out, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Everyone is talking about magnesium. It's all you hear about. But why? What do we know about magnesium? Well, magnesium is the #1 mineral that 75% of Americans are deficient in. If you are a woman over 35, magnesium will help you rediscover balance, energy, and vitality. Magnesium supports more than 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including those involved in hormonal balance. From functional medicine doctors to mental well-being and female hormone experts, we all know that magnesium is the one mineral to improve all aspects of well-being and health. But which one? Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, the trusted choice recommended by leading experts with 7 best-absorbed forms of magnesium to ensure your body receives the support it needs for overall well-being. Go to bioptimizers.com/balance today and use code BALANCE10 for 10% off. Support your journey to wellness at bioptimizers.com/balance. Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers, your foundation to optimal health and vitality.